You've called the district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Oh, he just came out and said it.
Federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
He knows he
Stephen?
knows what he just said.
Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue.
Plenary authority. Plenary authority. Remember that. That's what he's claiming. At least now we know that his fear response is freeze. And if you're not sure what plenary means, I gotcha. Complete in every respect. Absolute. Unqualified. No, not that type of unqualified. Though in that case, yes. What little SS Miller is claiming here is that Trump has complete unlimited control over the military to do with it what he pleases. No. And by the way, we need to make sure that this ends up in the hands of all the state's attorneys. They need to know for all their legal battles against the White House that someone from the White House and very high up in the administration is arguing plenary authority. And the funny thing is, he immediately realizes he messed up. This whole technical difficulty thing does not make sense. That's not what happened here. Little SS Miller was talking completely uninterrupted, said a word, and then froze. By the way, if you needed any more confirmation about the brain power behind this hate, if the audio had just cut out, he would have had no idea because he was the one talking. If he started getting a different audio issue, maybe like a weird noise or interference, he would have said that, or at least any normal human being would have said, I'm getting a weird noise. This was little SS Miller realizing immediately that he really stuck his foot in it. He said the quiet part out loud. One commenter even suggested that perhaps he had been rehearsing this argument to roll out at a later date. And I think that that might not be far off. Maybe it wasn't so much rehearsal, but it's clear that this is language that slipped out because that is how he's viewing it and how he's talking about it. They are prepared to claim complete, unlimited authority to do whatever he wants with the military. Wake up. By the way, if you wanted any confirmation of why AI overviews or tech companies are not your friends, when I went to pull up US Code Title 10, which by the way, everyone should download before they try anything sneaky, it was clear people had been looking this up because the top suggested search was US Code Title 10 plenary authority. I clicked to see what people were being served up. And sure enough, in the AI overview, it says that while the US Code does not explicitly use the term plenary authority, instead it defines the authority of the president to call members and units of the National Guard into federal service to suppress rebellion, repel invasion, or execute federal laws, which is a form of broad or plenary power over military forces. And I think it's important that we understand what's happening here because too many people are relying on these AI overviews and ChatGPT, which by the way, you should never go to for factual answers. Plenary does not mean broad. Some people may use it that way, but it means unqualified. Absolute. And by definition, even according to this AI overview, the fact that the powers are defined and limited to specific circumstances makes them not plenary. That qualifies them. Now, can you debate exactly how broad those powers are under those specific circumstances? Sure, and they are. But this is also not the only place in our legal code where these powers are defined or limited. Lastly, by the way, even if we were to just look at this statute, even if he calls the National Guard into federal service to quote unquote quell rebellion, quote, orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of these states. And guess what? Governors, while they have to follow federal law, cannot be compelled to follow a presidential order because we have something called the anti-commandeering doctrine. It's part of that little states' rights thing. Basically, the principle is that the federal government cannot take over or commandeer a state government to use it as part of the federal government. Ojo, or oye, as it were. It's called a doctrine because this is Supreme Court interpretation of our Constitution. The idea that commandeering would violate the structure of federalism, which means, and yes, you already see where this is going, that the Supreme Court could in fact decide to walk that back. However, that still doesn't give the president plenary powers over the military. The good news, if you can call it that, is that number one, this isn't surprising that this is their goal. Number two, if attorneys are made aware of this, at least they can start preparing their arguments against this language that's obviously going to start being rolled out as part of some argument or another very soon. The third bit of good news is I figured out what Stephen Miller sounds like. First, what you gotta understand is that because he's trying to come off as tough and he's a widow baby, he's in a perpetual pout when he talks like this. Number two, you gotta understand that he's a California boy, so you gotta place that pout on one of the characters from SNL's The Californians. I'm totally taller than 4'10". Oh, and the last bit of good news is I'm fairly certain he had to go change his pants after that interview.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So there's this new clip going around of Stephen Miller on CNN. He's talking about Trump and the National Guard, and right in the middle of his answer, he just freeze, like his brain stopped working for a second. People online are calling it a glitch, and honestly, it is hard not to laugh. But there is actually something deeper here too. In the clip, the CNN host asked Miller about Trump's plan to send the National Guard to the cities like Chicago. Miller started to talk, but then he just got stuck, repeating himself, losing his words, and kind of staring into space. It is a wicked but also telling because he was trying to defend something that doesn't really make sense. Miller is not just anyone. He's one of Trump's closest advisors, and when he struggles like that, it's a bad interview. It shows how people around Trump are running out of ways to explain his actions. They have been repeating the same lines for years, and now the words don't even fit the situations anymore. Let's watch these videos.
So Stephen Miller today tried to pull off his best impersonation of Mitch McConnell when he froze up on TV.
Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen?
And he froze up at the exact moment when he said that a president has plenary authority. And if you don't know what plenary authority means, it just means total power that's unchecked. Pretty much without limits and checks and balances. And Stephen Miller saying the quiet part out loud made his brain go into airplane mode. And what I will say about Stephen Miller is that he has plenary authority over making people uncomfortable. And plenary authority over that receding hairline. And I genuinely feel like we got to real-time see a person's brain buffer while their face did a hard reboot. And personally, I'm not a religious person, but I believe that was probably divine interventioning happening on real-life TV. Because God heard where that sentence was heading and decided to pull his Ethernet cable. So Stephen, next time you decide to come on TV and say the quiet part out loud on Glitch, you should probably just have Mitch McConnell come on TV and do it for you.
Oh fuck no, y'all gonna have to see this clip. This shit wild as fuck, fool. Make sure you like and share. Trump top advisor named Stephen Miller was on CNN talking about the National Guard situation. And he was talking real confident, y'all. Real calm. When he said some wild shit. This man said that Trump has plenary authority. That basically means he has complete and absolute power and control. And once he said that shit, y'all, he knew he fucked up. He like, damn. This man froze, y'all. He tried to play the mannequin challenge, but he was still blinking. Y'all, look at this shit.
Legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling? Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me? It seemed, Stephen, I apologize. It seems like we're having a technical issue.
Nah, that wasn't no technical issue. Fool just know he said some crazy shit. He exposed it, y'all. The truth is out the bag. Y'all heard it for yourself. That's why he fucking froze like that man was stuck in the Matrix. Every time somebody of power say some shit out their mouth like this, it's always one or two things. They either get cut off the air or they start glitching like him. This man real life said plenary authority. That's not just a fancy word, y'all. That means no checks, there's no limit, and full control. That's the kind of phrase you only hear from a dictatorship, y'all. And after that silence, nobody brought it up again. Nobody even talked about it. Y'all let me know, was that a glitch or was that a warning? Because one thing for sure, y'all, after he froze, after he said what he said, that looked like that man was just like, damn, I said too much.
So yeah, Stephen Miller, how do you feel about how much power Donald Trump has and how he's using said power? Well, how I feel is that the president has plural authority to do essentially whatever the fuck he wants. Oh. Stop talking? Okay. You want me to act like it froze? Okay, bet. Stephen. Stephen, you there? Stephen, I can see you blinking. The camera didn't freeze. Like, there's no, I'm looking at the computer right now. There's no internet connection issues. Like, or why are you acting as if you're frozen? Oh, you said just hang up? All right, bet. How do you turn this thing off? Okay, so we lost Stephen Miller in the weirdest way possible. He was saying something and then he acted like it froze. I do not know what just happened.
I just saw a video of Stephen Miller just saying that the president has plenary authority, and then he pretended like he was frozen on CNN. And then CNN just pretended it was an audio mistake. What do you mean you're saying the president has plenary authority? What do you mean by that?
We have some major news that almost no one is talking about. Yesterday, during an interview on CNN, Stephen Miller suddenly froze, right after he started talking about the alleged plenary authority that he and the White House supposedly have to deploy the National Guard. Now, if that doesn't freak you out, it should. He literally said, under Title 10 of the US Code, the president has plenary authority, and then he just stopped. Cut. Gone. CNN claims it was a technical malfunction, but since then? Silence. No statement from Miller, no clarification from CNN, and nothing from the White House. So what was he really about to say? Many believe this was Miller slipping up and revealing something bigger, something the administration doesn't want out yet. Because remember, Trump's team has been openly talking about the Insurrection Act of 1807, and even a Trump-appointed judge has warned that Trump could be laying the groundwork for martial law. This isn't fear-mongering. This is exactly how power is quietly expanded while the public looks the other way. Don't ignore this. If you care about democracy, share this video, comment what you think is going on, and make sure you follow for ongoing updates because things are about to get a lot more serious.
So the Third Reich's frozen sperm child, Stephen Miller, came on CNN the other day, and while he was talking, he froze. He was like, and he's playing it off as it was technical difficulty. But what really happened was he let it slip. He said it. You can go and Google it if you like. He talked about the president's plenary authority. Let me spell that for you. Plenary authority. What it basically means is he can do whatever the fuck he wants. That it doesn't matter. It's monarch level authority. Don't believe me? Go check it out. You guys are you're all getting played. You're getting played.
Okay, let's talk about Stephen Miller's big freeze up on CNN.
Under Title 10 of the US Code, the president has plenary authority.
Okay, so I didn't catch it till I was doing the edit for this video, but that silence was so big, someone literally drove a truck through it. Okay, so first, not that Stephen Miller deserves or would accept our generosity here, but it's entirely possible that he's getting something called mixed minus, which in the TV world is a thing where you hear your own voice about a second and a half after you've said something, and it's really, really disorienting, and the best way to handle it is just to stop talking. But more importantly, regardless of why he froze, whether it was because he was hearing his own voice or there was some sort of feedback, or he realized that he messed up by saying plenary authority, he said plenary authority. And what that means is that the president basically has unchecked power, and it's just not true. So this is the law that Miller is talking about, 10 U.S. Code 12406, the ability for the president to federalize the National Guard. But this law is pretty clear that at least one of these three conditions has to be met: that the U.S. is actively being invaded by a foreign nation, that there's a rebellion or a danger of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or that the president is unable to, with regular forces, execute the laws of the United States, meaning with regular federal law enforcement. So right now the president is trying to argue that the second condition there is happening in places like LA or Chicago or Portland, but in LA and Portland, judges, including an extremely conservative judge that Trump appointed, said there's no evidence of rebellions happening and that the president was really able to execute laws because ICE is still arresting people in these places, including, as we've seen, in Chicago. But at any rate, Miller using those two magic words, plenary authority, means that they are aiming for a much more authoritarian style government than they've already been steadily sprinting towards. And Miller just told everybody on national TV.
Please tell me y'all see that clip of Stephen Miller acting like he was frozen on national TV. All we could do is laugh because what Stephen Miller was talking about before he tried to act like he was frozen was that Trump has full authority to deploy the military to U.S. cities against U.S. citizens. But that's not what's funny. What Stephen Miller is talking about here is very serious. The president shall only use Title 10 in certain circumstances. What's funny is that they're trying to hide the fact that the president is going to use Title 10, but he noticed he's talking too much, so he tried to act like he was frozen on national TV. Bro, we can see your eyes moving. The trees in the background are still moving. You not frozen. You still there.
Just a few months ago, with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard, under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
Yeah, so under Title 10, the president still has plenary authority. Oop. What do you mean, oop? Stephen, you're not frozen. Your eyes are still moving. The fan is still moving. Stephen. All we could do is laugh, man. Let me know what y'all think. Was he frozen or was he not? I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
This moment says a lot. Trump team is under pressure from court case, from public criticisms, from their own mistakes. So even the top guys like Myla are starting to crack when the cameras are rolling. It's like the truth is too heavy to carry now. Yeah, maybe Stephen Myla didn't mean to say too much, but that short clip really shows what's going on behind the scene. What do you think? Was it just nuts, or did he accidentally reveal more than he wanted to? Let me know in the comment section, and if you like videos where we break down stuff like this, make sure to subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.